It is Friday, the 24th of July 2026, and here's what I'm tracking across the tropics this morning. I want to start with a significant and honestly a serious threat developing across our region. Stronger tropical waves are moving through the Caribbean, bringing a real chance of heavy rain to Trinidad, northeastern Venezuela, and several islands further east. At the same time, I'm watching a dangerous stretch of earthquake activity that has affected the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, Grand Cayman, southern Mexico, Guatemala, and even the Texas Panhandle. And out in the Pacific, Hurricane Fausto remains a major concern as it tracks toward Hawaii. If this forecast could impact your area, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications right now. You do not want to miss a single update. Let me walk you through everything, starting with the tropics closer to home before we head to Hawaii and the earthquake activity. Overnight and into this morning, rain has already been falling across parts of Trinidad and into northeastern Venezuela, tied to what is left of Bertha and Fausto, along with a fresh batch of tropical waves that are finally beginning to hang together. I'm also watching Nicaragua, Costa Rica and Panama, where clusters of showers continue to build, along with scattered rain across Colombia, the Cayman Islands, Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti and the Dominican Republic. The Bahamas will see some of that moisture today as well. Before the island-by-island numbers, let me explain a couple of terms simply. A tropical wave is a ripple of low pressure moving through the atmosphere like a wrinkle pushing westward across the ocean. And when enough moisture and rotation gather around one, it can organize into something stronger. Right now I am not seeing signs of that organized development, but I'm hoping these waves keep hanging together because many of these islands genuinely need the rain. Dust is another piece of this puzzle. Think of it as a dry, hazy layer of Saharan air that spreads across the Atlantic and Caribbean, and it tends to suppress shower activity by drying out the atmosphere and adding stability, which is part of why some of these waves are struggling to develop further. Wind shear works in a similar suppressing way, essentially strong winds at different levels of the atmosphere that can tilt or tear apart a developing system before it strengthens. Understanding these two ingredients, dust and shear, helps explain why we have gone a couple of relatively quiet months before this more active pattern arrived. Now let me bring you up to speed on current conditions. This moisture over Trinidad and Tobago is filtering in mainly across the southern side, especially San Fernando and points south, with Tobago staying mostly on the drier side for now. If you caught any of that rain overnight or this morning in northeastern Venezuela, let me know in the comments. Further north and east, I'm watching Barbados and Dominica, along with some dust filtering in around St. Kitts and Nevis. Even with that dust around, this is a noticeably more active pattern than what we have experienced over the last couple of months. Another tropical wave is set to move in by tomorrow, with yet another one and more behind that still to come. As these march across the region, I am not seeing development at this point, but I am hopeful they can hang together because several of these spots desperately need rain, and I will keep tracking this for you as we move forward. Behind all of this, out near Mexico, Guatemala and El Salvador, a new area is expected to develop, and I expect it will stay generally to the south for now. I am covering every one of these systems from start to finish, so be mindful that this is a busy stretch, and I appreciate your patience. If your specific island or city has not come up yet, I promise I am getting to it. Now to the earthquake activity, because I know this has generated a lot of comments this week. Overnight there was another one, and I believe it registered somewhere around magnitude 5.0, and because it was fairly shallow, it was felt widely across the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, and likely parts of the British and US Virgin Islands as well. It was not an especially strong quake, but shallow events like this tend to be felt more intensely even at moderate magnitude. This follows what has genuinely been an active week. Earlier in the week there was a 5.2 magnitude quake near Trinidad and Tobago and Grenada, and the comment section lit up over that one, understandably. There was actually a second one nearby, a 4.8 magnitude, within about an hour of the first in a very similar area. Stepping back to this past weekend, on Saturday, July 18th, there was a 5.1 magnitude quake just south of Grand Cayman, and I want to be clear, there was no tsunami threat associated with that one. Then, of course, there was the larger and more tragic event out of southern Mexico back toward Guatemala, a 7.3 magnitude quake about a week ago that caused significant damage. Just yesterday, the Texas Panhandle recorded a 5.0 magnitude quake, which is a notably strong reading for that particular part of the country. Different spots have clearly been experiencing elevated shaking over the last several days, and I will keep watching your comments closely along with the data behind the scenes. If you are subscribed, I will get any new updates out to you the moment I see additional activity worth flagging. Turning back to the rain, there are a couple of sneaky showers I mentioned earlier this morning, but the stronger tropical wave sitting behind that is what I'm watching for scattered rain across Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, lifting north toward the Bahamas. There is also moisture building in the Western Caribbean, plus that new area of interest, before I zoom back out to Fausto and Hawaii in a moment. By tomorrow, the next tropical wave arrives, and I'm hoping it holds together as it brings moisture into Nicaragua, Honduras, the Bay Islands and Belize, with an uptick in rain expected there. Meanwhile, the wave moving into the Eastern Caribbean is going to run into some of that dust I mentioned, which will diminish it somewhat, but as we move into Sunday, I expect a better chance of rain to develop. It is not a guarantee, but it is an encouraging sign that these tropical waves are beginning to hang together more consistently, and another wave will be approaching right behind this one, so I will keep watching that closely for you. This is a part of the world that desperately needs rain right now. Expect scattered, probably isolated showers, meaning some communities will see meaningful rainfall while others nearby see nothing. I am also watching parts of Central America for rain as we move into Sunday. Zooming out to the bigger picture, there is a system swinging from near California and Mexico down through Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Costa Rica and Panama, generally staying south, while another area develops behind it and is expected to stay south of the Baja for now. If I see any indication of that shifting north, I will bring you an update immediately. I appreciate your patience with how much ground I am covering this time of year. Now let me take you to Hawaii, where Hurricane Fausto remains the headline story. Accounting for the time difference, Fausto is expected to approach by Monday morning around 6 o'clock Hawaii time. I expect it will be noticeably much weaker by then than it is right now, likely still a tropical storm as it nears the islands, with the exact track, whether it leans slightly north or slightly south, still something I am watching closely. By Tuesday morning Hawaii time, it should still be approaching as a tropical storm, with the broader modeling continuing to bring it fairly close to or directly over the islands. By Wednesday morning, I expect the center to be right near Hawaii, and I do believe it will continue weakening through that approach. As Fausto moves in through Wednesday, expect rain bands to spread across the islands. I want to explain something important here. Even a weakening tropical system can produce substantial rainfall when its winds are forced up and over volcanic mountains. And that lifting effect can enhance both rainfall and wind gusts. That is why Wednesday in particular is the day I am watching most closely for impacts across Hawaii. Looking at the wind forecast, by Tuesday I expect winds near the core to run around 70 miles per hour or about 110 kilometers per hour. As the system continues its approach through Tuesday into Wednesday, I expect winds to ease closer to 50 miles per hour, and I do believe that is a reasonable expectation regardless of whether the track ends up slightly north or slightly south. Along with those winds, expect periods of driving rain as the circulation continues moving through on Wednesday. Even as it weakens, this setup could still create real problems, particularly quick runoff, so I am watching closely for flash flood potential on Wednesday as this system approaches Hawaii. Earlier in its life, this system carried winds near 90 miles per hour, and I expect that number to keep dropping down to somewhere around 40 to 50 miles per hour by the time it reaches the islands, though the terrain can locally enhance both wind and rain. So, heads up for you in Hawaii, this is a strong system now, and while it should weaken as it moves into cooler water and more stable air, the track continues to bring it very close, either just north of the islands or directly over them, and Wednesday remains the day to watch most closely. Lifting back north, I am watching some spotty showers and scattered storms return to the Bahamas, along with Cuba and Jamaica, while Florida stays relatively quiet for now, under a front to the north. Later today, the remnants of Bertha will finish up over northern Mexico, a system that honestly never amounted to much. By tomorrow, that front sinks south, bringing additional scattered showers and storms to Alabama, Georgia and Florida, though not everyone will see rain from it. By Sunday, I expect a better chance of rain across South Carolina, Georgia and Florida, with some of these storms potentially becoming strong, and even Freeport and Nassau in the northern Bahamas should see an improved chance of rain, especially Sunday into Sunday night. I also want to flag a few things further north. There is a front near Newfoundland with scattered showers near Bermuda and continued rain across North Carolina, a region that has already been hit hard by flooding recently, with more rain expected there later today. Canada will also see rain, including some stronger storms. That same front eventually stretches from off the Avalon Peninsula down through Bermuda and all the way toward Florida, which is somewhat unusual for this time of year, though it will not bring cooler air, mainly just an enhanced chance of showers and storms across the northern Bahamas and Florida. Seas look generally manageable, with just some occasional chop across the Caribbean and Atlantic shipping lanes over the next couple of days, so be mindful of that if you have any interest on the water. Now let me walk you through 3-day rainfall totals through the weekend. The northern Bahamas could see totals up to about 50 millimeters or 2 to 4 inches, possibly locally more, especially on Sunday, with central Florida carrying similar potential. Cuba could see scattered totals over 100 millimeters in spots, while Cayman Islands and Jamaica look more hit or miss, some communities getting meaningful rain and others missing out entirely. Haiti, the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico look similar, with dust still a factor, though I am watching that next tropical wave closely and hoping it helps organize showers by Sunday. Areas like St. Martin, St. Bart's, Anguilla, Antigua, Barbuda, the Virgin Islands, Saba, St. Eustatius, St. Kitts and Nevis genuinely need the rain right now. Montserrat, Guadeloupe and Dominica should see a slightly better rain chance, generally scattered to isolated. Further south, Martinique, St. Lucia, Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada and Trinidad and Tobago are the areas where these tropical waves are most clearly hanging together, and this is a pattern I will continue tracking closely. Suriname and Guyana should see scattered rain with some heavier pockets, and similar conditions extend into Venezuela and Colombia. Aruba, Curaçao and Bonaire look drier overall, though moisture is trying to feed northward toward Belize, bringing a couple of scattered showers there and across the Yucatan Peninsula. Nicaragua, Costa Rica and Panama should see pockets of heavier rain. South Texas will finish out the remnants of Bertha today before it falls apart over northern Mexico. And I'm also watching rain across North Carolina, especially the tidewater area of Virginia, where some spots could see 4 to about 7 inches, most of that falling later today and overnight. Now here are the specific rain chances I am watching island by island and city by city. Jamaica is sitting at a 30% chance of a shower or storm today, with that number climbing a bit by Sunday. The Cayman Islands look at a 20 to 30% chance, so let me know if you catch a shower there. I have had a couple reports nearby already. Trinidad and Tobago are already seeing some of this play out, with showers hitting some communities, while Tobago has stayed largely dry, though I expect the rain chance to climb tomorrow as that tropical wave arrives. Barbados is up to a 50% chance for tomorrow, with St. Lucia gradually climbing toward a similar number. Grenada sits at about a 50% chance tomorrow, easing to around 40% for the rest of the weekend, with scattered showers possible. St. Vincent and the Grenadines are looking at a 20 to 30% chance, and Martinique shows a similar setup, with that chance building further north through Dominica, where the weekend rain chance climbs to 40 to 50%, and Guadeloupe should see similar numbers. In the short term, Antigua and Barbuda are dealing with some dust, but I am hopeful for showers by Sunday, continuing into Sunday night and trying to sneak into Monday. That is the same setup I am watching for St. Kitts, Nevis and Montserrat, where rain chances may climb later Sunday and into Monday. St. Bart's sits at a lower chance for now, around 20%, and that same 20% chance applies to St. Martin, Saba and St. Eustatius. Puerto Rico looks at an isolated 30% chance, while the stretch from Anegada back through St. Croix sits at 20 to 30%. The Bahamas will see scattered rain, with the northern Bahamas holding the better chance, as I mentioned earlier, while the Turks and Caicos stay mainly dry. Haiti sits at a 20 to 30% chance of a pop-up shower, and it will be hot there, while the Dominican Republic holds around a 30% chance through the weekend. Belize will depend on how much of that moisture lifts northward through the weekend. Aruba, Curaçao and Bonaire hold around a 20% chance for the most part, while Guyana climbs to about 40% this weekend, and Suriname sits near 30% over the next couple of days, with scattered storms possible. Interior Cuba should see some storms popping up, along with Costa Rica and Panama, where I have been highlighting pockets of heavier rain in your comments all week. Nicaragua is looking at a strong 50 to 60% chance, building further tomorrow, especially across northern and eastern Honduras. Guatemala and El Salvador sit at a 40 to 50% chance through the weekend, and the Yucatan Peninsula shows a similar 40 to 50% chance, though not an all-day rain event, more scattered showers. Northern Colombia holds a 50% chance, while northern Venezuela climbs to 50 to 60%. Bermuda sits at a 40 to 50% chance, as that lingering front brings scattered showers over the next 3 days. Looking at Florida specifically, Sunday brings a better chance of bigger storms across central Florida, including Orlando, Tampa and St. Petersburg. South Florida should also see building storm activity through the weekend, with bigger storms possible from Miami down through the Keys. Houston sits at a 30% chance, while Houston and Beaumont generally hold a lower overall rain chance. Looking ahead through the week, stronger tropical waves will keep arriving across the Caribbean, and I am watching closely for any signs of organized development, though I am not seeing that just yet. Hurricane Fausto continues heading toward Hawaii, and I will keep covering that system closely as it approaches through Wednesday. I am also continuing to monitor the elevated earthquake activity across the region, so be mindful of any additional shaking, and I will keep watching your comments for reports. I hope you are doing well, be safe, have a good Friday ahead.